That's where we're going to be in the next few minutes. Matthew chapter 14, while you're giving your offering. I'm just going to tell you a real quick little something. Man, God is on the move, right? I mean, we're feeding the homeless. We're giving to missions. And by the way, Beat the Streets, that was really, really effective. You bring in the pancake announcement at 12 o'clock right before the sermon. So now, all I'm going to be thinking for the next 45 minutes is pancakes and sausage. I want to get some pancakes, so I'm going to be there next Saturday, and I'm going to give some money to Beat the Streets because I'm hungry. So anyway, last weekend, we missed you guys, but we were in the presence of God in our own way. And these guys went with us to the youth retreat, and it was an incredible time in God's presence. We're going to share a little bit more with you through the next coming weeks. Our time is flying on us today, so we got a little video testimony that we're working on. We actually took little videos of each person making a little testimony of what God did in their life for that retreat. So our goal is to have that edited, done by next week, so you don't want to miss next week because we're going to share that with you. You're going to hear directly from them how God has impacted them on the winter retreat. But I can tell you this, just from this morning in Sunday school and this past week on Wednesday, I can tell you that these guys here that you see in front of you are hungry to reach their generation. They are hungry. They are passionate. They're not just, praying, God, help me with my test, help me with my game. They're praying, God, help the kids that are hopeless. Help the kids that need to hear from you. These guys are on fire. And so I want to encourage you to keep praying for this generation because we need to hear the word. We need the presence of God. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 14. And I'm going to get this mic on. You got this one, check. We're working on it. We're going to get that other mic on. And so what we have to my left, your right, we have our boat. You guys like the boat? And we're going to have Jesus over here. You're going to go over there. You're going to go to the mountain and pray. Everybody say hi to Jesus. All right. And then I got my remote because we're going to be doing this story, but we're not going to be doing it in straight chronological order. We're going to be going back and forth a little bit. So I got my remote, and I've got the play, I got the fast forward and the rewind function on there, okay? So we're going to be pausing the story, we're going to be fast forwarding, and we're going to be rewinding it. We're going to have some little fun together. You guys want to have a little fun in the house of God? All right, so it looks like we're working out. It looks like the mic is on its way back up. I'm going to give Kaylee this one. And this one is on. Cool. Actually give you this one. So, all right, so if you want to follow along, we are going to be reading from Matthew chapter 14, starting in verse 23. And hang on. Go ahead and push play.
And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat by this time was a long way from the island, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea.
Push pause. Now, you guys can imagine for a minute, have you ever been in a life-threatening situation? Okay, some of you have. All right, so you know the reaction that you get if you are in a life-threatening situation and that fear, that fight or flight tendency kicks in. So we're going to push rewind a little bit. Read that last verse again. Back up, rewind. Okay, right there. And these guys are going to show you what real fear looks like, all right? Go ahead, push play.
But the boat by this time was a long way from the island, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him on the sea, they were terrified and said, "Go!" And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid."
All right, push pause. Right, good job, guys. Hang out tight for a minute. All right, I want to ask you a question. Actually, let's do this. Let's rewind that all the way back to the beginning. Let's push rewind. Jesus, we're going to rewind you. Go all the way back to the beginning. Rewind. There we go. All the way back to the. All right, pause right there. All right. You guys remember this story. You guys have heard this story before, right? Everybody's heard the story of Jesus walking on water. So, I mean, some of you are probably already starting to draw the conclusion, oh, he's going to say that we can walk on water too. Yay, you know. But we're going to go a little bit different from that perspective. I want to ask you guys a question. do you think he had just got done feeding the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish, right? So when he did that, do you guys think that Jesus was surprised by the situation that the crowd was hungry and that they needed food? Or do you think he knew already that something was going to happen and God was going to do something through him? So I want to ask you a question. This moment right here, Jesus, he's praying, his disciples are on the water. He knew they were in the boat. He knew they were on the water. And I would have to think that he knew that there was a storm coming around because you kind of know when storms are coming, right? All right, so I want to ask you a question. Do you think that Jesus was surprised by the storm at all? Well, you guys are good, man. This is good. This is a good crowd. So you could say Jesus was not surprised by the storm. All right, let's fast forward a bit. Fast forward. A little more. Pause right there. All right. Now, do you guys see the calm on his face? You guys see the fear in their eyes? Come on, show me some fear. Yeah. So let's just kind of get a, you guys are doing awesome, by the way. Aren't they doing good? Yeah. What we have here, these guys are afraid. They are overwhelmed. They are like completely, they think they're going to die. They think that everything's going to fall apart. And I want to ask you a question. Have you ever been so overwhelmed and you thought that everything was going to fall apart? Have you ever been in that situation? What I want to tell you in this moment is whatever it is that you fear, whatever your fears are, none of them are a surprise to Jesus. I think we need to remember that, okay? And I mean, I know you're probably like, all right, this is not rocket science. I kind of already know that. But if we really, really, really did know that, how would we respond in our fears? I want you just to take a minute for right now, and I want you to think about your fear right now. I want you to think about a situation, a word, a person, something that overwhelms you, something that gets your fight or flight reaction to kick in. Maybe it's something that you've been through. Maybe you've been through something horrible in your life. Maybe you were hurt by somebody. Maybe you lost somebody. Maybe somebody said something to you and you just couldn't shake that. And now every interaction you have with other people, you're scared and you're insecure. Maybe you're afraid about what other people think. Maybe for you, you know that God is calling you to do something big, almost like walking on water, and you're scared. What I want you to do right now, obviously we did our best to dress him up as Jesus, but I want you to close your eyes and think about your place of fear. And I want you to see Jesus walking on top of the elements, completely unfazed, completely calm. You see, your fears, the thing that you are scared that's going to be your undoing, that's going to embarrass you or shame you or humiliate you, none of those situations, people, places, or things comes as any surprise to Jesus. None of them do. All right, so let's go ahead and push play. Let's see what happens next in our story here. Go ahead and take it from where they're seeing the ghost. Play.
Okay. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, and they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water.
Push pause. All right. Now wait a second. Just this is like amazing to me, all right? And I don't know, I've got some weird obsession with Peter. I mean, I dressed up with him for crying out loud for one time. Some of you guys were there for that. But can you just imagine this for a minute? Like, this is water that is enough to capsize a boat and to freak them out to the point where they thought they were going to drown, and now he's walking on it. There's only one person that has ever walked on water with the living Son of God, and that's Peter, okay? I want you to remember that for later, okay? There's only one person that has ever done this in recorded human history. All right, push play.
So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, and he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God."
Amen. Come on, give him a hand. Give him up. Give it up. Wait, stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Good job. All right. All right, guys, stay in the boat for just a second. We're gonna do a little bit more with the boat. All right. Hey, these guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for helping me. So what we've already established so far, your fear does not surprise Jesus. We know that, right? So your fear doesn't surprise Jesus. And what I want to tell you also is that sometimes Jesus' best work is done in the place of our most intense fear. Sometimes Jesus does our best work in the place of our most intense fear. Can I put you on the spot for a minute? I'm just pretty much doing that for everybody anyway, so you can't say no. So Mr. Holtz here, were you ever scared when you considered the call of God to feed the homeless and to reach out and to make this ministry happen? Yeah. Look at it. He's walking on water right now, right? I mean, he went from like a two-man operation. Now you've got a full network of volunteers. I mean, come on, give it up for these guys. God is doing amazing things. And this is not to elevate one person above the rest of us, because for all of us, God can sometimes do the best work in the place of our most intense fear. I want you to think about something for a minute. Let's see, we got to rewind a little bit. Hang on. All right, so in the place of our most intense fear. All right, rewind a little bit. Let's get Jesus back out of the boat. Rewind. And let's get to the part where Peter's drowning. All right, Peter, get in the water. There you go. All right, pause right there. All right. Now, question for you guys. If Jesus wanted to teach Peter to walk on water, why didn't he just wait till it was calm, hey, it's a nice day to walk on water today, and so let's just go take a little walk on the water? And why did he wait until it was like a raging storm and they were scared for their lives and thinking that they were going to die? Why did Jesus wait until that point? Exactly. You see, I don't always like this fact, but sometimes God puts us in situations where we have no choice but to reach up and say, okay, I cannot do this without you. I can absolutely not do this without you. We would all want to let God, throw us in the shallow end and kind of learn to swim. We're like, all right, now that you learn to swim, just take one step, put the sandal on top, let it kind of feel it. All right, you good? And take it one step at a time. But Jesus waited till there was a raging storm, till their life was completely on the brink, and that's where he did his best work, is in the middle of the raging storm, in the middle of the intense fear. All right, fast forward. You guys can get back in the boat. Shh. I'm so glad this thing works, by the way. You're having fun today. All right, so in the place of our intense fear, I want to just point out, just in that moment when Peter was about to get out of the boat, I want to show you a prayer. Do you guys remember the prayer that he said? I believe it's in verse 28. Go ahead and put verse 28 back up on there. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you guys back there, too. I appreciate everybody that just made this happen. Musicians, you guys, Nilka and Rob and Bob and everybody that made this happen. You guys are like a star team. But verse 28, Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." I want to let you guys know that this wasn't just like Peter just being an idiot, okay? There are other moments in the Bible where Peter is kind of just going off the cuff. What I want to let you know is that right there is probably one of the best prayers that you could pray. If it really is you, command me to walk on the water with you. You see, Peter wasn't just some hotshot that was trying to do something cool. Peter was a disciple. And you understand what disciples do. If Jesus went to the grocery store, guess where Peter was going? To the market. If Peter went to visit a sick person, or if Jesus went to visit a sick person in the sick person's house, guess where Peter was going? So, if Jesus is walking on water, guess what Peter thought he had to do? Thank you. Exactly. Peter wanted to follow Jesus so intensely that in the midst of the raging storm, in the midst of the elements, Peter said, you know what? If you're walking on the water and I'm supposed to follow you, I'm going to walk out there with you. Going back to that place of your intense fear, the place where that storm rages in your mind and in your heart, I want us to learn to say this prayer, to focus on Jesus, completely calm, completely in face, completely unsurprised by any of it, and say, Jesus, if I'm not seeing a ghost, like these guys thought they were seeing a ghost, if it really is you, command me to walk with you. You're completely calm. You're completely unaffected by the elements. You're completely in control of the situation. You're completely high and lifted up in your glory, and none of this is going to faze you. None of this is going to intimidate you. If it's really you, command me to follow you. We're talking about walking on water. Thanks, guys. You can continue worshiping Jesus if you want, but if you want to relax, you can for a minute. I don't think I'll do any more rewinding, but sit tight just in case I do, okay? You guys are doing awesome. Aren't they doing great? Yeah. All right. So Jesus' best work is sometimes done in the place of our most intense fear. Have you ever done anything where leading up to that moment, you were like completely paralyzed, you're like, really don't want to do this, and it was so scary, but when you did it, you were like so glad that you did it. Anybody ever have experienced like that before? I would tell you a couple stories. I'll give you the short version of this story. Some of you guys know Tiffany and I moved from the Midwest, and the long and the short of that story is through a really, really crazy, bizarre, tragic situation, we met Dina and then met Pastor Paul. And that set in motion a summer of prayer where I was asking God, are you really calling me to go out to the East Coast? And I can tell you this, that moving 500 miles away from our nearest family member was a little scary for us. And I can tell you that there's been a few ups and downs since then, but I can tell you this, that knowing that was God, what God called us to do in that moment, we have not regretted that. And I wish I could tell you that, like, ever since then, I've always been walking on water and having tremendous faith. I feel like I'm just kind of starting to understand what it means to walk on water. And I thank you guys for helping me do that. But I'm starting to understand. A couple years after that, you probably have heard the skydiving story from Pastor Paul's experience. But if you haven't heard that story, I went skydiving once. And the way that it started, I got a text message from a group message from Dina, and it was Pastor Paul's birthday coming up. She wanted to surprise him by taking him skydiving. And I was otherwise occupied at the time, so I'm like, I'm not going to answer this right now. If you laughed, you know that you've done this too before, so you're guilty. But I saw the message going across, and one by one, I saw all these other guys, these big, strong men. Nope, sorry, not doing that. Nope. And by the way, some of you are in this room, so I'm not going to call you out, but if you know who you are. But finally, as one by one, as that message went through, and they said, nope, sorry, nope, not for me, can't do that. I'm thinking, I'm going to have to take one for the team. He's not going to have anybody show up for his birthday. I'm going to have to, go skydiving. So we went skydiving. I could tell you two moments that were particularly frightening. If you've ever been a really, really loud plane when it's taking off, I can still hear the hum of the motor as we were taking off. We're getting farther and farther and farther away from the ground, and my mind is starting to think, there is only one way that I'm getting out of this plane, and that's by jumping out of it with some guy on my back that I hope he has enough motivation as I do to survive this experience, and pull a parachute, hopefully before one of us blacks out. And so you can imagine those 5 minutes of getting from ground sea level to the altitude, they seemed like 5 years for me. The whole time, like my mind is replaying all the possible worst case scenarios and what I'm going to do for my family when that happens. And then Pastor Paul was right in front of me. Then I saw 3, 2, 1, and he was gone. And I looked out the window. He was actually gone. Like I couldn't even find him. I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, where did he go? And then, so then the guy's on my back. He's like, all right, we're next. And so we're flying in an airplane. The door is open. And so we approach the open door. I'm sitting there looking, right? I mean, who does this kind of stuff? I mean, I'm looking out the airplane window that's open, and we're flying like 13,000 feet above sea level. And I know that it's going to go 3, 2, 1, and then I'm going to be gone. Between the 3 and the 2, that seemed like 10 minutes. He didn't get to 1. He actually kicked me before we got to 1 because he probably knew that I wasn't going to go if he did it. But let me tell you this. When I got to the ground, and I obviously survived that. Thanks, Captain Obvious. When I got to the ground, I can tell you this, that it was a very exhilarating experience. And I looked up at the sky looking from where we had come, and I thought to myself, if I hadn't done that, I might live the rest of my life thinking, man, what would that have been like if I had done that? I want to tell you this morning that some of you are being called to walk on water. Some of you are being called to do something that deals with your most intense fear, that deals with your loudest insecurity about who you are, about who God has made you to be. Some of you are being called to face that, and not only face it, but to walk on top of it, and to keep your eye on Jesus throughout all of that. And I can tell you this, that sometimes the most intense faith is manifested through the most intense fear. You see, faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the belief in God that you are bigger than this overwhelming, life-threatening fear that I'm feeling right now. Faith is often exhibited in the midst of intense fear. Amen. So Jesus' best work is sometimes done in the place of our most intense fear. Now, I imagine sometimes when Peter tells the story, Peter was probably talking to people about his experience, and I could just imagine him trying to share the experience, like guys, I walked on water, like Jesus was walking on the water, and he called me out of the boat, and I actually like got up, and I thought I was going to sink, but I actually took a couple steps. I promise you, before I sink, I was walking on the water. Okay, yeah, Peter. What are you going to tell me next, that you were on a mountaintop with Moses and Elijah? Come on. If you didn't get that joke, I either need to tell better jokes or you need to read your word more. But you imagine how crazy that would have sounded to Peter's friends? Peter was the only person to have this experience. And yet, think about this. For somebody who did something that no other human being in history has done, that was actually not the most incredible experience he ever had. Think about that for a minute. It's like walking on water was not the like, all right, guys, you did it, good job, you're going home, and you could tell everybody you did that. No, that was actually the start of something. It was almost like Jesus was training him for something better. And so we've seen that Jesus is not surprised by the things that make you afraid. And Jesus can help you overcome those fears, and Jesus can do an amazing work, and sometimes does it in the place of intense fears. But what I also want to tell you is that Jesus wants to use that which would normally scare you in order to train you for how he desires to fulfill his greatest purpose through you. Think about this. What happened to Peter after all of that was done? This was a training ground for Peter. You read the book of Acts. This guy who was just a fisherman, he was preaching to thousands of people. He was healing the lame, healing the sick, and he was even raising people from the dead in Acts chapter 9. Go ahead and read it when you get a chance. Peter did some incredible things that made walking on water look like, yeah, you know what, that was cool, but check this out. And Jesus was using this experience as a training ground for Peter. Jesus wasn't interested in enhanced water transportation. He was looking for somebody who was willing to walk out in the place of intense fear to have intense faith. And he put Peter in that position over and over and over again. I want to tell you something this morning. If you truly follow Jesus, he's probably going to take you to some scary places. If you follow Jesus, some of you, I think, already kind of have experienced that. If you follow Jesus, he's going to take you to some scary places. Let's go ahead and invite the worship team to come up. And you guys did a great job. You guys can go ahead and have a seat. Give them a hand. Yeah, one more time. Good job, man. If you follow Jesus, he's going to take you to some scary places. But I can guarantee you that if you follow him, he's going to take you to some places where the potential for what he can do through you is incredible. So here's what I want us to do. As they begin to play, I want us to close our eyes. And I want you to envision your fear, your insecurity, your doubts. I want you to picture those. Picture those as the waves, as the elements that can sometimes come at you. And just as Peter did, I want you to see Jesus walking on top of the water. Can you see him? Can you see the look, the love in his eyes, the confidence in his face, knowing that he's not surprised? The things that overwhelm you, the things that cause you to worry, the things that make you feel like you're going to fall apart, none of those are a surprise to him. He's completely calm. He's completely in control of the situation, and he is walking on top of it. Can you see him right now? What I want you to do in your own way of praying, I want you to ask Jesus the question, Jesus, if it really is you, if that's really you, if it's not a ghost, if not some figment of my imagination, if I'm not just imagining this whole faith thing and trying to go to church and worship you as a way of feeling good about myself so I have at least something to hold on to. If you are real, if you are true, call me to walk out in that place of fear with you. Call me out. I'm your disciple. I want to follow you so closely that if you're going to the scariest, most life-threatening situation, I want to be right there with you. Call me out. And in response to Peter's request, Jesus simply says one word. Come. Come. While the worship team plays, I want to continue to let God's word permeate your heart. Some of you, I think God is ready to deliver you from the words that have been spoken from over your life that you've replayed in your mind ever since you were a young child. Ever since you were a child, you've heard those words, you've grabbed onto that, and everything that anybody has ever done to remind you of those words has replayed it back in your mind, brought it right to your face, and made you feel insecure, made you feel unworthy, made you feel that even God couldn't love you. I want to tell you right now that God is ready to deliver you from that. For some of you, you've been hurt. You've been hurt badly. And you've been avoiding that memory because every time you think about it, you think about how much it hurt. And God is saying right now, are you ready to forgive as I forgave? Are you ready to forgive? You don't think you can do it, but I did it when I was on the cross. I did it, and so can you. If you want to follow me when I said, forgive them for they know not what they do while they were crucifying me. Can you forgive them? For some of you, He is calling you to something unimaginable. And you've been doubting it, you've been denying it, you've been thinking, no, there's no way I can do that. That can't be God because that's impossible for me to do. I can't accomplish these things. I can't speak encouragement to them. I can't talk to my coworkers. I can't do this. I can't start this ministry. I can't reach these people. It's way beyond me. And Jesus is saying, can you follow me? Are you ready to walk on water? Are you ready to do the thing that you've been telling yourself your whole life that's impossible, that you don't have what it takes? Let me tell you something. It is impossible, but so was walking on water. And if you keep your eyes on me, if you let me pull you up when you fall down, because you are going to fall, I can show you if you follow me. In these moments while we sing, let God do that work in your heart. God, we ask that you would continue to minister in our hearts, God. The place of fear, the place of insecurity, the place of doubt. We need you right now, God. We cannot overcome these things by ourselves, just as your disciples could not get through the wind and the waves by themselves. We can't do it without you, God. We need you. Speak to our hearts right now, God. Deliver us. Set us free. Empower us and equip us, God.